Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment. I have today Lads Talk Health, and I'm going to let the lads introduce themselves to you. But I want them, as you know how we do it here at Threads of Enlightenment, we go and we gather all their information, what they're doing today, and then we will circle back and find out how they got there, and then we're going to come on back and talk about where they're at today, and then how to reach these guys, how to get in touch with them, and so that you can join their posse, as they say, and be a part of their people, and we all can grow together. We can learn together, and I'm going to let these two young men introduce themselves, and then we're going to go from there. Go ahead, guys.
Harry, over to you.
Thank you for having us. We are Lads Talk Health. My name's Harry, originally from London, currently out in Brazil. Lads Talk Health, there's a long backstory to it. We're two coaches that have reconnected over a number of years, that stayed in contact throughout that time. And our main line of work now is working with people, special people from all over the world. And our main line of work is terminal illnesses. So people that have been told, in some cases, that they're going to die. Cancer is a big area that a lot of our line of work heads down. But being in this space, you start realizing when you are working with people, and life then becomes apparent, and the meanings start showing itself. It still relates to everyone on this planet. And stats on cancer at the moment are now showing 1 in 2 at some cases. So it affects everyone. If it's not you directly, it impacts a loved one, a friend.
Yes.
And all the teachings and all the experiences that we've experienced and shared over this time. There's so many different insights that me and James are now learning about ourselves that we're now passing on, and the incredible people that we're meeting on this journey. So we're in a position right now where we are connecting with people all over the world, and our main emphasis is really to allow people to be them, to share their story, to be okay with sharing their story. And we break down our ethos into just the 4 segments. So we like to simplify things, and spirituality for us is making it so simple that we can make our own choices on an energy standpoint. So we work on the ego, which is a huge part, the soul, which is the opposite of the ego, your present moment now, and then showing up your best self.
I like that. Go ahead, James. Let the people get a chance to meet you.
Go ahead, James. Ken. After that, where am I going after that, Ken?
Well,
Well
you
done,
know
Harry.
him a little, so you're gonna have to find your way.
Right. Wow. So my name's James, and I'm a soul coach, and I started working with people with cancer. It started off with a very personal journey for me 8 years ago. And what I didn't realize at the time was just how, not just relevant, how leading the soul, spirituality, energy, so whatever you want to, for those who can't accept woo-woo, we'll because this is something else we do well at Let's Talk Health. We'll science the woo-woo for you so you can feel the woo-woo, because it is a science behind it, the spirituality. But I quickly learned that I wasn't 8 years ago equipped to actually deal with the level of truths that it's interesting, because as Harry said, we've worked now and working with, and it's an absolute blessing and privilege from people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all cultures, races, creeds, from all over the world now we're working with or have worked with. And what's interesting is, regardless of this so-called differences, when the human has been put in a position where the back's against the wall, because mainstream medicine has said, right, we've gone as far as we can go. Now, there's an emphasis on that's how far they can go, by the way, because that's where they stop. But then it's where you go next. And then what you experience, and I quickly experienced, is people in this position, like I said, regardless where you are in the world, what happens instantly is the second part of the human psyche, which we all battle our whole lives, is our ego, that inner voice, that dialogue, always telling us we're not good enough, we don't look good enough, compartmentalizing us with self-limiting beliefs, never letting us reach our true potential. That inner dialogue dissipates because all of a sudden it's got nothing to feed off anymore. And what comes through then is the soul, the spirit, the energy. And that's when you see miracles happen, because that's when truth comes through. And for me, my journey was getting whacked in the face by all of these truths, with me, my ego still going off at this point, me not even understanding what I'm actually involved in. Just getting involved with the family members, with the children, because you do. Who wouldn't feel the pain when you're working with these people closely? But it was an interesting journey. So I got to a point where, funnily enough, my soul told me I needed coaching, and this is how me and Harry reconnected with him as my coach, which was a big ego trip for me, because he was my junior when we was in the gyms back in the day. So Harry's younger than me. He might not look it, I know, but but anyway, so so basically, when I got to a point where me and Harry had been connected over the last 12 years, me and Harry had been connected really sporadically. Me, when I had my businesses out in Greece, I was out there with my family. Harry was running his businesses in London. And then it was all through some unfortunate, horrible, traumatic events unfortunately for me and my family, led us back to England, me reconnecting with Harry, me then getting Harry's coaching. By that time, Harry had upskilled himself into an incredible coach, which I'm very proud to say I was coached by Harry. And that's how my coaching eventually started, because then Harry convinced me to quit my job in a pandemic. Can you imagine, Ken, telling your wife in a pandemic you're going to quit your source of income when people are struggling? And I'm telling her, this new hippie husband is telling her, but baby, it don't feel right anymore. My energy's not in it. Like, Harry's telling me Harry was not a good topic for a little bit in the house. But anyway, so that's how it started for me. And then once I upskilled myself with the coaching, but sorry, prior to that even, I said to Harry, right, mate, you're jumping on board with me. You're helping these people that I'm dealing with. And that's how mine and Harry's work jointly came together in regards to initially him coaching me, then us working together, then me becoming a soul coach, now us coaching each other. It's just because that's the beauty of coaching for people out there that you need to realize is it's not therapy. It is actually quite a spiritual, is a massive, at the core of coaching, what we do, it's all about spirituality, because that's where all the truth lies. And that's in regards to people we're working with sickness or people without sickness. We all need to be looking into those areas which we tend to shy away from, that mirror. It's good to have a look every now and again.
This is good stuff, man. I love to hear that. And we initially, before we got on, I was telling the guys about how how I feel about and how I think about myself here at Threads of Enlightenment, is that we are independent and yet interdependent. And how much more so is this story that has just been talked about, and how, as these young men began to work with all these people, to see the interdependentness and how beautiful that truly is, man. I try to, you try to explain that, what you guys are talking about, to people. And, you and I would light up, and they would look at us as something strange we're talking about, but they don't understand the amount of joy and the beauty that you're talking about. And unless you're in it and a part of it, you just can't really explain it, guys. Can any one of you really? I mean, we use words like, "Oh, it's spiritual," but can one of you guys help me out?
Let's make it.
How do you explain
Let's make it really digestible for every single person out there who's doubting any of this.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Right. So, anybody out there, first and foremost, look up placebo medicine. First and foremost. Okay. Now, this isn't a theory. What I'm about to explain is a truth, and you can go and debunk anyone, but you'll find thousands and thousands of examples of what I'm about to explain. Every time there's a new drug launched, there has to be a trial, an experiment to take place to check the safety, the effectiveness. And what happens is you have the new all singing spandangly doo-doo-da drug that they're saying is going to cure your leg that has been amputated and is going to grow back. Then they'll have what's on their market currently, which is supposed to do the same thing, but hasn't been that effective over the years. And then they'll have a placebo medication, which is a mixture of sugar and water.
Sugar water.
Now, there are thousands, not just a few, thousands of documented cases of and I'll explain why this is relevant, and you will shut down any spirituality argument in a second. Let's build it up. The reason now why this is accepted is because there's been thousands of cases where the results of these experiments have shown, in many cases, that the placebo participants were, if not as good, better, or a little bit less than the ones with the new spandangly medication. Now, the problem in that is, even if it was just one person, because the process is, this person, and this is how your mind works, people, and I'm sorry, this is going to poke your ego. Most of us aren't doctors or nurses or trained in medicine. So what we've got is this pre-programmed belief that anyone in a white jacket with a title of a doctor who's just so happened to read more books than you and memorize the words of those books, they're going to tell you what's going on and you're going to go with it straight away. So placebo medicine is given from Mr. White or Mrs. White Jacket. There you go, James. Take that. Your leg's going to grow back. Sugar and water. Bam! My leg grows back. How does that happen? Okay. It's now been accepted by mainstream medicine that the human mind triggers actual physical reactions in the body. And again, what do they say is one of the biggest killers, Ken? Stress. Is stress tangible? Can you touch stress? Is it there? Or is it a negative thought pattern? There being an energy field.
Exactly.
So everything is energy and spirituality. And what me and Harry have witnessed over the last 8 years is miracles, because people have just aligned themselves back with their spirituality, their true inner selves, because the human body, guess what? Incredible. Mechanism after mechanism to heal itself.
Go ahead, Harry.
When you talked about where people look at what are you going on about, they can't understand it. When you witness these miracles, you want to share it with someone. And the beauty of my relationship is we're on the phone to each other all the time, not just from a friendship. It's what we're experiencing with the people that we're working with and what we're getting from it and what we're learning. Because everything that we up with, first of all, is the knowledge from your parents. That is just your truth to start with, the values, then your social circles. But when you get to a certain point in your life, all of a sudden, that goes all out the window. And it's that infinite possibility, things that we're told is impossible, that's just happened in front of our eyes. These things that we experience, other people say, that's not true, you can't have, that's not real. And we self-question ourselves. But when you can start becoming used to this world and accepting, wow, this is true. I did experience it. I did feel it. I did see it. I did hear it. That's real. That's as real as it can. And the excitement of what happens next is that becomes more of a conversation. So I think when you become in it and you experience it, not just once where you're like doubting yourself, it happens all the time that you laugh. And then it's like, what else can happen next? And that's what I love about having these discussions and connecting with people like yourself, because it's as real as it can be. And the only people that tell you it's not are the people that don't have that experience.
Yeah, I know James had mentioned the doctors. I remember when I took my son to this doctor, this hospital, and I can't remember exactly what was going on. And then I saw this doctor ran out of this room, ran to the counter, takes this book out, and start flipping the pages in the book. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, this guy don't know what the heck he's doing. He's just trying to find some information. And then it dawned on me about these guys.
Ken, do you know what you should have done?
I sat there, and I'm like, wow, it stripped away that that image that we had for me, that instant just ripped it right off. And I looked at these guys from that day on. I looked at everything different. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because I saw the panic in this guy's face. I actually watched him, and he's flipping pages and have no idea what to do, but yet we trust them because we assume that they know everything. And so, as you mentioned, that they can only take you so far. And he can only take that person so far because here he is looking in his book for answers. He has nothing else to say. And so he's trying to find something to go back in that room and tell those people to try and save whatever he has to save. But you're so correct. I mean, this frame that we're in, and science has proven that once we leave, they can actually weigh that soul, as you mentioned. They know how much it weighs and so forth. And so then there's something a lot more powerful than just this house that we carry around. And my background is healthcare, and so I know the placebo effect. I know from all the studies, and to hear that you guys are doing it, and I know, James, you mentioned personally from the realm of the cancer piece. I mean, when you look, I've been to some of these cancer centers, and the hopelessness that is there that you see, but because the hopelessness is there, because their
Yeah,
fate is in everything that is in modern medicine, not in the things that you guys are talking about. And so, if there is the hopelessness that is in the hope is in that medicine aspect of it, and they've come to the end. Oh, that's a dark place, man. So you guys, what you're doing is beautiful, beautiful stuff. You know.
thank you very much. And as is what you're doing. A couple things regarding the doctor. Next time I was going to say, have your phone there and just say to him, if you tell me I can Google it for you and I bring it quicker up than what he's doing, flicking through the pages. Because Dr. Google is what they use in England. I know because I never forget taking my son to the doctors at one point, and up until that point, I thought Dr. Cole had been a great doctor. Everything was really good. And then one day he just flipped around and opened up Google and started, and it was the same thing that you felt. I was like, I could have done that. That's not why I come here. Like, to someone to show me. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, no, the importance of that placebo example is that is just someone telling somebody else that fixes you, and that
Yes.
person going, okay, in their mind,
Yes.
it's just sugar and water,
It's
but
the power of the
sets
mind.
off chemical balances that say to your body, a big part of your body is the endocannabinoid system, which we can touch on maybe, I don't know, another time. But you've got inbuilt systems that we're not told about as well. This is another thing which is very
Yes.
upsetting about the fact that there doesn't seem to be a lot of money in healing people. There seems to be a lot more money in keeping people
There is
sick,
none.
and that starts from a spiritual level. Look what's going on currently. The whole world
Yeah.
is being spiritually depressed by an invisible
Yeah.
entity. I'm not saying either way what it is or what it isn't. What I'm saying is that something that you can't see, touch, or taste, but is, you cough and sneeze and it's got a 99% survival rate. But anyway, point being, it's the whole world has been drilled down into a, I listen to conversations within my family and I have to say, snap out of it. Like, there's still a lot going on that you don't, and that's the problem. The sickness manifests from the spiritual self-persecuting that the ego does to the body. And there's even people like Professor Wayne Dyer, rest in peace, Eckhart Tolle, Christiane Northrup. I mean, Christiane Northrup, she's still going in her 70s. Me and Harry were talking about her before. This woman's incredible. Her work cannot be touched. And I don't know if you've heard of her, Ken, but basically she is the female guru about everything female. She is the lady. So anyway, if you listen to what she says, most sicknesses in women manifest from traumatic events. Between a 5 to 7 year period, a lot of them they can trace back. So your sickness started from an energetic spiritual kicking. So again, these things are real, people. And this is why, as Harry said, cancer's 1 in 2. Maybe we should work out the fact that mainstream can't be working great if it's 1 in 2 now. Like, where's it go from
Yeah.
here? 1 in 1, we're all dead, basically. So, yeah, we've got to start having a little look. People, come on, we've got common sense.
There's an exercise that I did with my children to show them the power of words. I had and that's what starts it. The power that is in that word, because the person came, gave that person the pill and said, or the injection, says, this is it. This is the pill. And so once they receive those words and they now take this thing, this medicine, and I tell them that words is medicine if you really understand what it does. And so this thing is planted, and I had my sons did an exercise when they were young, to show them this example. So I had the eldest and the youngest stand in front of each other. I had the eldest um, uh, put his hand out. Actually, I told him, I said, stick your hand out. And I had his little brother. I mean, just little boy. He was just, I think it was about 5 or 6 years. And the eldest was about 12 at the time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So he stands there. And I tell him to say, I am weak. I am, everything negative I had him say. And then I told him, put your hands out. And I told him, I said, don't let your little brother move your hands at all. Because if you let him move your hand, you're weak. You know how it is with men. And so he's over there and he's holding, and his little brother touched his hand and it fell to the side. And I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. Come on, man, put your hand up. And I'm showing this thing. Then I said, okay, forget it. I said, Joshua, his younger brother, said, I want you to put your hands out and say, I am strong. I am invincible. I am powerful. And I had him say all of these powerful words. And then I told his brother, his big brother, I said, move his hand. He could not move his little brother's hand. And I told him, I said, I wanted you guys to see instantaneously what you say will affect you to the cellular level. And what you guys are doing is to the cellular level regenerating things that the common or Western medicine can't touch, because their words are not positive. You got 3 months to die. You got 3 weeks to die. You're going to lose your limb. I mean, this is all they tell you. And so, in that arena, there is no power. How in the world are you going to be able to heal anyone? Because they're not interested, because it's just too much money in keeping you sick. So they'll never ever heal you. So now the thing is, what you guys are doing is getting to heal people. It's totally different. It's two different platforms that you're dealing with.
Quick observation, Ken. We help people heal themselves. We don't heal them. This is the beauty
Exactly.
of what we do.
Sir.
We share
You're absolutely
information.
right.
And that's why what you're doing is so imperatively important, why we're so grateful for you to have us on, because straight away, we're sharing energy first and foremost. Look how meaningful the conversation is, just because we're sharing information. And that information empowers people to give them the most beautiful thing you can give anyone on this plane is a choice. Because information can give you a choice that you may not have known you had just by someone sharing some information. So that's the importance of it. It's not healing, because we get that title and it feels funny, doesn't it, Harry? It's not. We sharers.
Harry, talked about the 4 steps that you had talked about, how you guys are taking the process by which you're educating the people now and bringing that information to them, and you brought it down to that 4 process. So now educate us and the audience about those 4 process and how it plays into, as James says, to help them to begin to heal themselves.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to establish is that change only happens when they've experienced it first. Because once they've experienced it, it turns from, oh, I think it, to I know it, I felt it, it's real. So it's all well and good me and James sharing this information and telling you all this amazing stuff, but they need to feel it.
Yeah.
So the thing we do is go and identify the ego. And as soon as we mention the word ego, I'm calling you out on that little voice that's going, oh, here they go. Just straight away an agreement there. And every bad choice you make in your life is a egotic choice. Like we know that we should have made a different choice, which is your soul saying you should have done that, but something else stops you doing it. So again, we like to simplify it because there's so much information out there. There's so many people, so many opinions, so many different ways of doing stuff. But if you're the healer of yourself and you're the one to have that choice, it's a lot easier to make a choice when it's very understandable. So if we can break it down, ego first of all, make them aware of it. We highlight that little voice, the internal dialogue in your head, and it's always there. There's always something that's the imposter, we like to call it. But ego is also determined as the evil, the baddie. But we also like to look at it as our teacher, because without the ego, we wouldn't be able to establish what the soul is, truth.
Yep.
So the soul is that inner wisdom. If you don't like the spiritual route to start with, we call that your gut feeling, your intuition. But it's that knowing that's always screaming out to you. But the problem is that we got so much chaos, so many thoughts, and so much stuff going on in our world, we don't hear our gut feeling. So we help people, where meditation comes in, we help people connect to their soul. And then when you mention about the words is one of the biggest teachings that me and James help all of our clients, making them aware of the words that they come out of their mouth. Because really, you're the commander and you're directly communicating with your soul. So any words, the English language is so powerful, the way it has been designed, very deceptive too. But the words I am, anything followed I am is truth. So imagine your soul, you've just woken up, your soul's gone off at night, you don't know where it's gone, but it's come back. It's ready for James to give me an instruction. How you feeling, James? I am tired. The soul's like, what? The body says, I am stressed. I am depressed. You're labeling yourself all these things. So
stop reading my mind.
Until something followed by I am, that stays your truth. And when you're working with people that are depressed, if you just make them aware of their dialogue, the words actually coming out their mouth, it's very negative. You also mentioned the cellular level. If we was to really strip things back, me and James always like to have so words, for example, we've got positive and negative. Let's strip it back. Ego and soul, there's a choice there. Let's strip it back to cellular level. If we went to the cellular level, and this is epigenetics, the cell has two responsibilities. That's it. Grow and protect. If we was to pull one cell out of the human body, you could literally make up that whole human. You could tell what colour hair they got, what their personality is in that one cell. You stick that cell in a petri dish, and you put food in the petri dish. By the end of the day, that cell moves towards the food. Put that same cell in a petri dish with poison. By the end of the day, the cell moves away from the poison. Every cell has its own brain. So if we really simplified it with our clients, what are you doing right now? Grow or protect? You can't do two at the same time. And as soon as you can start breaking it down to that simplicity, you have a choice. Okay, what would grow look like? And then we can start moving into the next part, which is now. And I'll let James continue of being present, because it's the game changer.
Nah, you was in flow there, bruv. Oh, I was just sitting there like, whoa, Harry's in flow. Wow.
He passed it he passed the baton perfect way, man. Let's see if he could grab that baton.
Take that now. Okay, so which actually your now is your soul, and this is a truth. I don't like to say fact anymore, because this is a truth. Go and make this an untruth for me. Okay, the way we are set up in our now, which means we're present, which means to be in your now, you are not thinking about anything that's already happened. Nothing, because you can't be present in your now and be worrying. That's worrying. That's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
We can touch on all the
Yeah.
labels it gets chucked at. But point being, it's your past, which doesn't define
Mm-hmm.
who you are, especially in your now. Or what makes matters worse, as humans, because we're so egotistically clever, we become mind readers and we start gauging
Mm-hmm.
this new future to worry about that we've not
Yeah.
experienced, and it's gauged off of something we can't even do anything about. That is how
Mm-hmm.
most of the people that we're watching this show live your life. You're living your life not in your moment. You're worrying about something, and we all do it, and that is part
Yep.
of the ego. When you come into your now, and the way it starts, and this is going to sound really strange, but I tell you what, anyone do this for one day, and by the end of the day, you'll laugh because number one, you'll think you're mentally ill, and number two, you'll realize just how your mind works. So for one day, notice your thoughts. So that means a thought
Mm-hmm.
pops up in his head, like right now. What the heck is this English guy talking about? Notice that thought, but that can't
Mm-hmm.
lead to another thought. You notice that one and you let that go and you come back to your breath. So then what else pops up in your head?
Mm-hmm.
But so for one day, notice your thought pattern. What you'll find by the end of the day is number one, you've slowed down the internal junk that you've got
Mm-hmm.
going on in your brain, which a lot of the time you don't own any of it. You don't actually own any of it because guess
Yeah.
what? None of it is in your now. Because if you're in your now, you
Mm-hmm.
have always got a choice to make. You can choose to worry about stuff and then invoke that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens again? You start getting sick. People take time off work because they're feeling anxious. Okay. Or you can say, right, oh, okay, I acknowledge that was a bit of a negative thought, but I know if I go with that, think about this, people, if I go with that, it's not
Yeah.
going to make me feel great. So actually, right now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to think like that. So I'm going to think, what have I got going on right now? Let me go out for a walk. Let me have a chat with my husband. Let me tell my husband, do you know what I just thought? Have a laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
Bring yourself into the observer, because when you're in your now, you'll find the truth
Yeah.
that is at your core. You only observe everything from day one in this life anyway. You're observing what you taste, what you touch. You're observing your thoughts.
Yes.
Think about that. And we go into them like them micro levels. I love that you touched on that, by the way, Ken, because we can take it to
Mm-hmm.
that microbiome level of how even important those are in you now. Because your body reacts
Yes.
chemically to the state of mind you triggered to put it into.
Yes.
So when you're feeling calm,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? You get this serotonin flood the system,
Yeah.
and being kind will actually induce that serotonin to the recipient of your kindness. That's a fact. Imagine that. That's been proven. Just by
Mm-hmm.
being kind, you get an uptake in serotonin. The person receiving your kindness, they get that same uptake in serotonin. These play a part in body maintenance and in health. So there's a lot
Yes.
to this.
Exactly.
There's a lot to this, and being
Mm-hmm.
present in your now means that guess what? You're not worrying about anything. How nice would that be?
Yeah.
Which then leads
That
on.
is just.
Sorry, go on, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, sorry.
No, so that is powerful stuff that you're talking about right there, and I know you have an extra piece to it, but I just want to interject there. This what you're talking about right there is absolutely the key to most of it, because I got there, guys, through meditation. That's when I started practicing meditation. It's been probably about 30 years now. Until that day when I started practicing meditation, my life was a mess, and I understand. And what you were talking about, that's how I trained my mind while I was sitting there. I couldn't sit for 30 seconds because your mind is all over the place. You forgot the light, you forgot and I had to learn how to do what you just talked about being present, about being now. When you get there, and you, as you said, you tell the people to try it for a day. James is absolutely right. Your world slows down because you have learned how to master your thoughts. And once you have gotten to that place where you're able to say to that thought, no, or you allow a thought to come, because when you do allow it, you know it is coming with a purpose. You're not just allowing it just to, like it would before. And so the thoughts that you allow in becomes powerful because they are taking you someplace, because you made the choice to allow it to come in. And so once it's in, it's not there to waste time and to bounce over all over the place. It is simply there to keep you focused. And that is power, guys. Power.
I'd tell you something, Ken. When you're in flow, you've got one of them Denzel Washington type voices, isn't he? He's like, I was listening. I was like into his voice. I was like, and my wife will tell you, I call Denzel my daddy. I love that guy. that was amazing. That whole thing. I hope are you recording this? Because you had a lot of bombs that you dropped there. I'd have the bomb button on that if I was programming that one. But
Yeah,
that was amazing.
it's on, but that's the truth, guys. That's the truth. I mean, it becomes powerful because the thought that I allow in my mind will hold a space for that moment, and I allow it because I want it to hold that space. It's not someone else's thoughts. It is the one that I allowed and choose to be in there because I want to achieve something, and that is a lesson that I know that's where you guys are taking your people, because we all have to go there in order to get to the next step that you were about to talk about, James.
And that is the perfect segue, because what's beautiful is once you get to that stage, now you're in your now, all of a sudden, because you're not worrying, which means you're not comparing, all of a sudden you're happy with yourself. What happens is you start realizing that you're your own God, and actually you're the best version of you that ever was, is, or will be. In fact, that's the truth. You're the only ever you of those three categories. So straight away, I'm pretty special. Like maybe it's not a result of a fart in space that made this creation that we're looking in right now. Maybe I'm actually created, and my foundation now is, let me have a look at myself and remember how much I love myself. What made me as a child happy and joyous and smile from the soul. That doesn't change because it doesn't age your soul. Your ego interrupts it, but your soul doesn't change. So point being, you start realizing, hold on, I've got these roles. I'm quite a multifaceted soul because I'm James the dad, James the business partner, James the friend, James the son, James the husband. I've got all of these different versions of myself, which I give energy to on a daily basis. And now that I'm in a happy place of, right, I'm in mine now, I need to have a look at what my now looks like in these different versions of myself that I play. And this is where there is a lot of truths that can be uncomfortable, because sometimes you'll find quite often that there's some nearest and dearest role relationships you're playing where you're not getting back what you're giving. Now, I'm telling you this, every parent out there, as a truth. You are entitled to get back from your children what you give. Why? Because without you getting that energy back, you are not going to perform as the parent. So it's imperative there's an acceptance there that I have to think about me as a parent. Not just as a parent, but that's a common one that we come up against with parents. So that version of yourself, score it. Maybe I thought I'm the best parent in the world, but you know what? I'm talking about myself here, and Harry, the snot-nosed junior personal trainer that came back into my life like Yoda all of a sudden with all this knowledge, was showing me that all of a sudden I'm a better dad because of Harry. I'm a better husband because of Harry, and I have attributed this to Harry every time. It's part of my truth. So those different roles I was playing in my life, I then could look at what is the best version of myself, because once you're in your now, remember, you're not worrying. And the thing is, what we're telling you, you ain't got to read any books. Me and Harry have made a load of mistakes over the years to get to here, and we're still failing all the time. But I can tell you this is a fact. None of you need, this isn't book smart. This is experiential knowledge. And all of you have
Yes.
experiential knowledge, especially about yourself, more than anyone else on the
Yes,
plane.
sir.
So again,
Mm-hmm.
think about what you do have, not what you don't have. So the last part is realizing and achieving the best version of yourself starts with yourself and filters out into all the roles that you play.
Yeah, this is a couple of things. I started my journey. I was a single dad with four boys, and as I began to learn things, I began to deposit everything that I learned into them. One of the things that I learned was the fact that when you think about it, and I would tell them because I began to learn it when I started my journey, that I am an endangered species and we ought to think as such. And what does that do? And I began to teach my kids an endangered species you would want to protect an endangered species. You would want to make sure that because there's businesses that are designed on the fact that you are that endangered, one of a kind. I'm talking about uh, um, your fingerprints. I'm talking about your eyes, and there are industries that are designed on the fact that you are an individual because that's how they track killers. That's how they because I don't share the same fingerprints as anyone else on this universe. Do you? Anyone? I mean, you're different. All of us have this specificness about us. And that is so beautiful because there is no other one of me on this planet. And so I have to learn how to love myself, man. I looked at the darkness and I say, this guy is not perfect, but I like him. I'm about making him a better person. But right now, all of his mess and all of his garbage that he has, I like him. And I'm going to do the best I can to become a student to help him become better than he was 5 minutes ago. Next person I meet, I'm going to behave a certain way. And so I love that you guys talk about this fact about this journey of self development because it is key in number one, you gain strength out of it. Number two, you are at a place where you do not allow people to abuse you or take advantage of even your thoughts. And I remember reading a book where it says we are godlike in this fashion, that we are able to control our thoughts. That is what we become, and James had mentioned that a little, that when you get control of those thoughts you become godlike in the fashion that you now can change that universe that is inside of you, and you begin to bring the I know James don't like this word, but this is all I got, that healing um, that
No,
you want
healing's good.
to
Curing, we don't like healing's a
curing
beautiful word.
cure, yeah, I don't
Curing,
they don't
yeah, we don't
the
like those words.
healing, because the healing goes on every day that we are alive until the day we die. We are healing from hurts, emotional hurt, all the different hurts, pain, and all that stuff. We're constantly healing. If you are on that path, you recognize who you are, because if you don't, you'll move at any opinion that someone says about you, any of that, and dealing with the type of folks that you guys deal with. The assignment that you have to do is incredible because you have to now teach them how to pull them back and focus them. And that thought life is, um, I mean, that's where the battle is. And so I tip my hat off to you guys because I know of the responsibility that is there, but I know also the joy that is in that. And the fact that you have to now bring these people with all the negative words that they've been hearing for 20 years, 30 years. And you have to bring them back and strip it down and show them that, wait a minute, You can do this. You have that ability. Now, here are the steps that I've learned, these 4 processes, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. And that, to me, guys, man, I tip my hat off to you for what you guys are doing. It's just priceless stuff. I'm losing my mind how happy I am to hear you guys talk about what you're doing, man. Just absolutely losing my mind.
Thank you very much. That's lovely.
You know, anytime you guys, anytime you want to get on this show and talk and bring this to people, because this is what Threads of Enlightenment is about.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
entire conversation that we had,
Oh.
it is James' threads, Harry's threads, my threads, the other threads that come from the people that they meet, the stories that they are hearing. Those are threads. And this tapestry that we are making together. And one day that we want to show the world this beautiful tapestry. It doesn't matter about color. This is not interested in any of that stuff. It is about this energy, the soul that we are. Because when we shed this house, I'm still that energy. James is still that energy. You know, we may move to another plane, but we don't know what is there in the other. But I'm sure we'll find a house and put that energy, because the energy is not going to go anywhere. So we'll find another house somewhere. So we are uh, your assignment that you have right now, guys. I tip my hat off to you again. I respect, because I came from that industry. I know what it is about, and to see you guys bringing people out, priceless stuff.
Thank you very much, Jan. We appreciate everything that you're doing and giving us the opportunity just to have a conversation, because we learn every conversation we have. We learn something from that conversation to take forward, which then can potentially be something you can give to someone else. And that it really is the beauty of sharing information with each other.
Thanks. I just learned about me being like Denzel Washington. So
yes, using flow there. He was like, I could just see one of them adverts where he was talking over it, like he was narrating.
As well.
Yeah,
ahead,
he
Harry.
came in for effect, and I was like, okay. But no, it was brilliant. Thank
Go
you
ahead,
very
Harry. I
much.
know you had something to say. Oh, you're welcome, man. Go ahead, Harry. I know you. Go ahead.
Yeah, a little insight just for people, because we mentioned the word thoughts quite a lot throughout this, and it's like controlling your thoughts, observing your thoughts. But if you really think about in life, all of our experiences, how are they created? They're through our senses.
Yep.
And if you go through our senses that we have, thoughts don't play a part of that. So whenever these thoughts come, if you then become the observer, the real connection to, I believe, God and spirit is through your senses. So let all these thoughts, this chaos, this thunderstorm, let them show themselves, because we do have these horrible thoughts, these crazy thoughts, these happy thoughts. But tap into the feeling. Literally observe it all and say, what is that feeling? Because we think what love is, we think what happiness is, we think what anxiety is, but they're still feelings. So if you can now observe it, tap into that feeling, understand what that is, you'll get a lot more answers coming your way.
Hey, James, you were right, man. This hippie made me want to quit my job.
See what I'm saying? That every now and again, I
come and join you guys.
I just say, well done, well done. Fantastic. No, it's been great.
Guys,
it really
it's
has.
my pleasure. It is my pleasure. I am so glad that you were that you honor me by being here, and I will do the best that I possibly can here at Threads of Enlightenment to spread your word and what you're doing to every single person that listens to us. As I mentioned to you guys earlier, that we are seen and heard all over the world, and I am going to make sure that, however, I'm going to put all your information, and I'm going to try whatever help you guys need from us. You let me know, and I will post it there with when we put this thing together. And as you need more help, please reach out to me, and I will reach out to the people, because I feel that I want to be a partner with you guys in this journey that you're taking. I want to hold your hands and walk with you, not just stand on the sideline. I want to hold hands and lock arms and walk with you while you're doing this stuff, because I think this is beautiful stuff, and I want to be a part of it in every single way that I possibly can, that we can at this show. And I'm going to promote and tell all my visitors and subscribers, get involved with them. Get involved with them. So I thank you guys for coming over here at Threads of Enlightenment.
Everybody, now look, I can't do anything now. Like first you, then you. Right, that's all, folks. That was seriously, that was absolutely so appreciated what you just said. Genuinely, that was really lovely, and thank you. That was a real good soul boost. I take. Thanks very much. That was lovely.
Yeah, thank you again for having us on your show.
You're welcome, gentlemen. Be safe.
Take care. Bye bye.
And you take.
Bye. Everyone who's listening to this broadcast, we hope to continually help you to learn how to embrace moments of darkness, because it is in the darkness that we learn how to develop and use our abilities to truly see those parts of ourselves, often invisible to us, in the light. It becomes your responsibility to navigate through all of your trials, to find out who you truly are, and begin your journey to loving yourself, which is possibly one of the most difficult things you will ever do in your life. To love yourself and to find the real you. But always remember to enjoy the journey. Thank you for coming by. Please subscribe. And if you can support us financially, we deeply appreciate it.